Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. This is Mr. Shakespeare here again with you on the 27th of June, 2023. I'm here with psychic medium and remote viewer Liz Cross. How are you doing today, Liz?
Great, thank you.
So, a few things happened over the weekend with regards to Russia, and we're going to have a little look into that. Most of it, actually, let's just start with a couple of other things. Prior to all of this, there's supposed to be the great offensive, which Ukraine is supposed to have been started, which they have started. This is covered very well by the guys on the Duran, by the way, so hat tip out to them. It hasn't gone as well, anywhere near as well as it's been reported. In fact, it's been a mitigated disaster. It's one of the reasons, by the way, that the submarine story was kept on the front pages for so long, just to keep the Ukraine thing off the front pages. And then, of course, we have this, which people in the West are calling a coup d'etat, which I don't think it was. Net result is that, well, anyway, let's go into this. Let's find out. So, Yevgeny Prigozhin. Yeah.
I have no idea who this bloke is.
He is a Russian oligarch. He is the chief of the private military contractor, the Wagner Group, commonly known as the Musicians, out of Wagner, because it's spelt the same way. His guys were instrumental in capturing Bakhmut in Ukraine. Recently, he's been given to some fairly outlandish and outrageous claims, attacking the defense minister of Russia and the chief of staff, Shoigu, as one of them. And then we had this thing on the last weekend, which a lot of the media were portraying as a coup d'etat, as the overthrowing of the Putin government and regime and all of these things. Not quite sure how they think that this was going to happen. The Wagner Group probably has 25,000 mercenary soldiers at its disposal. The Russian military is probably about 1.5 million and plus. But anyway, we don't know. We've got to find out the reasons why and who put him up to it, why and what happened. What we do know now is that he's been, due to a deal that's been done with the president, Lukashenko, or the president of Belarus. He's pretty much in exile. But anyway, let's find out from the man himself. Right, can you get a link with him, please?
Yes, I have him.
Is he currently in Belarus?
Are you currently in Belarus? No, he's in hiding.
Is he not on the way to Belarus?
Are you on the way to Belarus? Yes.
Okay. Okay, what was the purpose of what you did over the weekend, and then the drive from Rostock to Moscow? What was the purpose?
To overthrow Putin.
Did you think you would be able to do that with just a small force?
Did you think that you would be able to do that with just a small force? Yes, he honestly believes that.
Was he aided and abetted by either Ukraine or any other Western actors?
Several.
Was the US, Great Britain?
Was it the US? One of many, yes. Did they pay you? They supplied them.
Okay. I don't think he would have done it for. He's supposed to be allegedly a billionaire, so I don't think the money would have been the reason for him doing this. Why would he want to overthrow the Putin government? I thought he was friends with Putin.
The Putin government. Ooh, he just called him a very derogatory name.
Okay, so he doesn't like him.
No, equates him to vermin.
Right.
He betrayed this guy.
He betrayed this guy. Oh, okay.
Yevgeny. What? I'm sorry about my pronunciation.
Right. Eugeny Prigozhin. I can't sell it. I can't say his name. I've been listening to it all weekend. But okay, how did Putin betray him, and roughly what timescale? Last week, last month, last year, 10 years ago? I mean,
when did Putin betray you? Last year. How did he betray you? He left him out on some massive business deals. He asked this guy to do like so many things for him, which were all carried out. And then Putin reneged on the deal.
Right. And because of that, he thought now, after being successful in Bakhmut and having, he would try and overthrow Putin and his government.
He actually reached out to a lot of Western countries and organizations to back him. They were supposed to send in more support, but he realized that he was on his own. So they betrayed him as well.
Okay, but he didn't get any support. Was he expecting any support by anybody within the Russian military or the Russian government?
Expecting support by anyone within the Russian military or government? No, outside of that government. Okay. So he was expecting support from Ukraine, from the US, from Germany, from the UK, and all of them reneged as well. So they basically, he's the front man.
Okay, but his own people, there was only like one officer that went with him. His own officers didn't agree with what, I mean, the people that went with him, they thought that they were trying to help Putin, not try and overthrow him. So most of his own men didn't understand what he was doing. The
mission was to kill Putin. That's what they want him to do. They want someone to go in there and kill Putin. So, I don't understand why they're trying to do it that way when all they have to do is pay a very good remote viewer. The remote viewer can do it.
Okay.
I won't go into the ins and outs.
What you wish for, because obviously there are people in the Russian government that make Putin look like Bambi. There are much more hardliners in the Russian government than Putin. Oh. Putin is a moderate. People need to understand that. Compared to a lot of people, in other words, when the US bombed the hell out of Iraq for no real reason, weapons of mass destruction, they just went in there with a shock and awe campaign. If you noticed, Putin has not done that with Ukraine. He doesn't really want to be bombing Ukraine. Doesn't want to. I mean, he could do. He's got the weaponry to flatten all Ukraine in 3 days flat, but he doesn't want to do that. But there are people in the Russian government who would do that. And so that's what you've got to be careful of, There is this obsession with Russia, with Putin, that goes back many years. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on this actually recently. It's very interesting. But anyway.
They're scared of him. The West are scared of Putin and his power. They're scared.
Well, one of the things they could stop the war instantly. I mean, Alex Christoforou of the Duran made this point excellently the other day. All they have to do is saying, Ukraine is not a NATO country. And all they have to say is, it won't join NATO and there won't be any nukes placed there. It's a bit like what would America say if, Mexico put nukes on their border. They'd go ballistic, or Canada. Well, that's what Russia are saying. Don't put them on our border. Don't put them in Ukraine. I mean, that's all they have to do. But you have to understand the warmongers, in the US administration and others, You know, they want this war. They want it to continue. You know, I mean, they could stop it instantly by just saying that. Now they're trying to set this guy up to kill Putin. Okay, right. Well, I mean, he's going to be exiled. Apparently, the deal was done. He's going to be exiled to Belarus. But I mean, what he actually did was treason, I think.
Well, so let's ask him how he feels about it now.
How does he feel about it now?
It was a total failure and a disaster, and now he's ruined his life. They're going to strip his wealth as much as possible. They're going to come after his family. See, I know that you say Putin is a moderate, but I think people need to understand when you say that, you're talking about a moderate in Russia compared to some other Russians.
Yeah.
If you compare him to Biden, Putin is not a moderate.
Well, no, but Biden is, I mean, look at all the corruption that's going on with Biden at the moment, you know, the payments through, I mean, okay, it's not being investigated because they own the DOJ and everything else. But I mean, you know, there's a lot of corruption there. It's just a different kind. Russia is a different country. So yes,
right.
I'm not comparing it with, you know, a guy in Malaysia or somebody. I'm comparing it to Russian standards, you know.
Yes, and I think we needed to make that clear
compared to Russian standards. But you know, people should not be looking at Putin or Biden with rose-colored tint, you know, glasses. I mean, just because, you know, they're spending a lot of time and money going after Trump, who's an ex-president, because they don't want him to be a president again. And yet Biden and his son, I mean, look at all the stuff that's coming on.
Well, we did an extensive Hunter Biden probe with Channeling Eric. And unfortunately, they, you know, I understand their reasoning. They got a little scared. So they weren't willing to publish it. So we're now going to have to, you and I are going to have to redo that video. And that's fine because they're not used to doing this kind of stuff. They're more channeling the afterlife. That's absolutely fine. So those of you that are waiting for the Hunter Biden probe, I'm sorry that there's a delay, but that's the reason.
I mean, like most politicians are corrupt to one degree or another. One of the reasons why they become politicians, it's what they can get for themselves. You only have to look at, you know, how did some of these people get so money? Look at Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. You know, she was a bartender one minute, and now she's worth 23 million or something, allegedly. I mean, how did that happen? You know, not through her salary, that's for sure. So, you know, they've all been through the mill. Biden has been a professional politician for 50 years. You know, there's not much he doesn't know about what goes on in politics.
Well,
actually, no, there probably is a lot more now.
Right.
He hasn't got he's losing the, yeah, I know.
Shall we ask Putin how he feels about all of this?
Yeah, let's ask him, yeah.
A lot of people want to know, Mr. Shakespeare, why the submersible was such a huge news story. And you have your theories, and I have my theories.
Well, I actually said it earlier on. I said about I call it the submarine, submersible. Well, they kept it on the news page because the Ukraine counteroffensive is failing badly. I mean, by all accounts, it's a complete and utter failure. They're not achieving anything. Bear in mind, they needed. I don't think, to be fair to Ukraine wanted to do this. I think it's again the West pushing Ukraine into doing all of these things. You have to understand that, you know, they want the neocons in the American government want this. Biden wants this because he wants to be a wartime president. You know, you've got American history is replete with a lot of this. Yeah. Franklin, FDR, Roosevelt. I mean, he got America into the Second World War, basically, so he'd get reelected. You know, people do these things, and you'd be gobsmacked what people will do. and the
For
people
those
behind
of you,
want Biden re-elected. And, you know, they
for
do.
those of you outside the UK, gobsmacked means, you know, you're surprised.
Translation,
I love those British words. You know, I grew up with all those British words, so I love it.
Yeah, so you've got to understand that there's people behind Biden who are manipulating Biden. They want the war to continue, and they want Biden because he's, you know, easy to control, manipulate, control. Yeah, and obviously Biden, if he's in power, can, you know, can
be manipulated.
Yeah, but also he has, you know, less things will happen to him while he's the actual president. And, you know, what I mean is, look what they're doing for Trump. Look how they're going after Trump, you know, and they're doing that so they don't want him to run again.
I'm telling you, it's not going to end well. I don't.
Well, I don't think it is, but I mean, I can't claim I agree with it, but the boys at the Durant, the two Alexes, I think Christoforo came up with a great thing. Or was it the other one? I can't remember. One of them, they came up with the idea that quite possibly Biden will pardon everybody, including himself, his son, and Trump. So let's see if that happens at some point.
Biden pardon Trump? Will Biden pardon Trump? No.
No? Okay.
No, he's not going to pardon Trump. Although I see why that would be in his best interest, so that when his presidency is finished, they don't come after him. I can see that now. You know,
well, also he can pardon his son as well. So can't he? Sorry.
Will Biden pardon his son? I don't know if he will. I don't know. That'll be something for a Hunter Biden probe, but I don't know. I think that it'll be interesting to see.
Okay, so that's that.
So let's ask Putin how he feels about all this. Somebody actually remembered one of our videos we did a way back where I said somebody on the inside would stage a coup. And I was like, I don't remember that. They're like, oh, no, I remember that.
Yeah, it was a while back. You said there would be some, I can't remember what you said exactly, but they can't find the video. Nobody can find the video, but I do remember it. You did suggest something like that, or say something like that. Anyway, what does Putin think about what's happened?
What do you think about what has happened? It's nonsense.
Well, okay. Because apparently the Wagner fighters that were with him have been basically pardoned. They've been given immunity. But we don't. Wagner will probably be broken up. The fighters who didn't join Prigozhin to go up there will probably be assimilated into the Russian army. They'll be offered contracts, I think, because they're thought of very highly in Russia, extremely high.
Who are they?
They're a private military. It's like Blackwater that the US use. They're mercenaries, basically. Originally, they were started by. I think this guy basically went round prisons and places like that in Russia and said, look, if you fight for Russia for a minimum of 6 months, then your sentence, assuming you survive, will be commuted. And I think that originally was how they recruited people. And then more later, they were just recruiting people who just wanted to be, you know, paid to go and do this, I think. I mean, obviously the West narrative will be that it's full of criminals. Well, originally, yes, it was, but, you know, some of them have given their life for Russia, you know, because they have had casualties, but they've been used quite effectively. I think one of the problems now is that there's some legal issues to do with, because they're actually now fighting on Russian territory, whereas previously they had not. They've been in, you know, Syria or Africa or somewhere like that. They've been used. But I think now what's going to happen is that the Wagner will be broken up. He'll be in exile in Belarus, and the fighters that did not go with him on the road, they will be offered jobs in the Russian military, and the ones that did will be given immunity but won't be offered jobs. because, you know, I think that's how it'll go. Russia will do anything, obviously, they're not going to make, I don't think they're going to make a martyr out of this guy. I don't think anything's going to happen to him other than they may well strip his wealth. They may well do all of these kind of things. But I mean, you know, the West do that to people anyway. So that's sort of normal. You know, he could be charged with treason and he would be executed under Russian law for what he's done. But I don't think they want to start. Wagner has built up a huge, you know, following in Russia for what they've achieved. And I don't think they want to start any kind of civil war over this. So I think he'll just be sidelined and, you know, he'll be held up. He'll be sort of not house arrest, but maybe, you know, he won't be the force that he was. He'll regret doing this. I mean, he could have just.
Should we ask all those questions and find out?
Sure.
Like what the future of this Wagner is?
Yeah. Well, we'll have to put it out. We'll have to put it out a while, won't we?
Okay. I feel like he's going to step down from it. How far out do you want to go?
Let's go out a year.
Okay. What's today's date? June 27th, June 27th, 2024, 20. Oh, he wants to go to 25. No, 2024.
Why? Ask him why he wants to go to 25.
Why do you want to go to 25? It's something significant to do with Wagner as a whole. I don't feel, so he's the leader of it.
Well, he is today, yeah.
I don't feel like he's the leader anymore, but I feel like it's gaining more supporters.
Yeah. Can you just pause the video there? Sorry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. Well, we can go out. I mean, I'm trying to find out what happened to him and what happened to the Wagner Group. Why does he want to go to 2025? Maybe we should let him do that first.
So, okay. Let's go June 27th, June 27th, 2025, 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. What would you like to know?
Okay, what happened to him? What's happened to him over these past 2 years?
He stepped down and he's gone into hiding.
Right. In hiding in Belarus?
No, I feel like he's left Belarus. I feel like he's on a yacht somewhere.
Okay, is he being currently is anybody looking for him currently?
Is anyone looking for him? Yes.
The Russian government?
Well, the Russian government, the spies, yes.
Anybody else? Any other government? Any other NGO? Any other, you know?
No, but they want to kill him.
Oh. Okay. Well, yeah, I suppose, yeah, he wanted to kill Putin, so tit for tat, I guess. I mean, okay. All right. What happened to the Wagner Group?
What happened to the Wagner Group? It's still around. It's gaining a little bit more strength. The West have applauded him and the Wagner Group for their efforts. They want them to reconvene and to make them stronger. The West sees them as their only hope to get in and get, you know, underground information and to support them. So they're still being supported by the West.
But surely the Russian government know this.
Well, according to the Wagner Group, they say no. Let me ask Putin, do you realize that the West is supporting the Wagner Group? He goes, we're on it. We're sort of investigating it. So I'm looking at Putin at today's information, which is 2023, and they're investigating it. Let me move him out to the same date. Yeah, June 27, 2023. Sorry, 2025, 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Do you realize the West is backing Wagner? Yes, he has spies in Wagner.
Right. Does that not worry him?
No.
Okay.
He doesn't think that they're significant. He really doesn't.
Are the Wagner Group involved in anything for or on behalf of the Russian government currently?
The Wagner Group involved in anything or on behalf of the Russian government. No, I feel like there's a separation between Wagner and the Russian government.
Okay. Does Prigozhin know what happened? The guys that were with him on that failed attempt, on the march to Moscow, does he know what happened to some of those guys? I mean, were they given immunity? Were some of the others given contracts with the Russian military?
No, that was all for show. That's all a lie.
Okay. So what happened to them then? Were they just left alone? Or?
No, some of them are in jail. Some of them have been killed.
Right. Okay.
Right. This is why they're scared of Putin, right? This type of stuff that goes on, the West are scared. Because at this point, I mean, obviously it's a coup, but then they report it to be something to the effect of, oh no, they've been pardoned, they've been this, they've been that.
Well, no, there wasn't the pardon. That the thought was that they wouldn't be prosecuted. So, look, at the end of the day, what they did was treason. It was out and out treason, and the penalty for treason, even in America, is death. So, is in England, it's just about everywhere. So what they did was treasonous. I mean, at the end of the day.
Prosecuted? No, they're not even going to be prosecuted. They're going to go straight to jail or straight to death.
Right.
So there's
okay,
no trying to prove
right. So did some of the Wagner Group just disappear then?
Some of the Wagner Group.
I mean, I don't mean disappear, die. I mean just just hightailed it out of there.
No, I don't feel like they have the money to do that.
Right. And what about the ones in Wagner that were not involved in the attempted so-called coup? What happened to them who had no part of it?
What about the Wagner Group? Part of them that had no part in the coup. They're still wanted.
Oh.
For belonging to that organization, for not speaking up, for not trying to deter them. They're painting them all with the same brush.
Okay. Well, yeah.
And some of them are they're trying to dissolve the Wagner Group as much as possible now because it is so, dangerous to the Russian government. That sort of underground movement needs to be dissolved. Don't forget, I know you are saying this and that, but the Russian media is very controlled.
Well, so is the Western media. Well,
yeah, so is the Western media. Yes, I agree, but not. We still have access to information.
I think the Russian media is probably freer than the Western media in a few aspects. I mean,
they infiltrate our media. They infiltrate our social media, and they know how to psychologically manipulate people. And we found that in many probes, and we fall for it. Well, I don't, you don't, but a lot of people out there, they fall for it.
If he resigned or stepped down as leader of the Wagner Group, I mean, and we're now 2 years in 2025, has somebody else stepped up to the post then? Is somebody else now the de facto or de jure leader of the Wagner Group?
Yes, but I feel like they are using like fake names. They're keeping themselves out of the limelight. It's all done underground now.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Hang on a minute. I need to ask another question. All right, we can drop those two for a minute.
Okay. Don't forget, these future self things are based upon probabilities of where we are today.
So this is Alexander Lukashenko. He was the one that apparently we're being told brokered the deal between Prigozhin and the Russian Federation, i.e. Putin. He knows them both well, apparently. So he was instrumental in doing this. Can we get a probe with him, please?
Yes.
Okay. Why did he step in to get involved with what Prigozhin was doing? I mean, he's being touted as the guy that stopped it, and well, you know, what made him? Why did he get involved?
Why did you get involved? Because there's so much going on within the, you know, the whole Russian geopolitical sphere that he wanted to broker a peace deal. Were you asked to get involved? Yes, he was asked to get involved. And who asked you to be involved? Putin.
Right. Well, yeah, that had to be. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay, so that has been reported correctly. What does he think now? Does he believe that Prigozhin will stay in or be in Belarus for a while, or because that's what's being reported where he's going?
No, he'll leave.
Okay.
He's going to go hide out on some super yacht somewhere.
Okay, so he's not being made a captive of Belarus, you know.
No.
Okay. Right. Well, I think we've got the gist of it. For whatever reason, this guy was turned or assisted or persuaded by Western actors to do this. He held a grudge against Putin. This is Prigozhin because of a deal that went wrong or didn't happen, and he thought that he could take out and change the whole of the Russian government with this. That's the bit I don't get. I mean, he had, you know, there were maybe 5,000 to 8,000 people with him on this drive from Rostock in the south, which is a 10-12 hour drive to Moscow. The Russian army is about 1.5 million people. Not sure I just don't get how he thought he was going to overthrow the government of Russia with that little amount of people.
Let's ask him, how did you think that you were going to overthrow the government of Russia with that small amount of people? Anything is possible.
Okay.
Oh God, that's funny.
Well, it's the same as the nonsense about the so-called alleged January the 6th insurrection, which of course was another piece of theatre. You know, all these people let in by the police and the FBI. I mean, at the end of the day, even if they were all there, how did they, you know, how do people think they were going to overturn the whole of the United States? I mean, these things are a nonsense. You know, you just can't do things like that with, you know. I mean, the laws of even in the rules of war, you know, if you're trying to overturn a defensive position, you need 3 times the amount of what your other side has got. So if the other side has 100, you need 300. You know, so I just
and a lot of equipment, right?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know, but he was hopeful.
Yeah, he was. I wonder if he's been set up by the West to destroy Wagner or something. I think maybe there's another plot going. I don't know. I'm speculating. I have no.
You know, it feels like there's something more to this, and I'm asking. I wonder if
even he might not know. I can't believe this guy's that stupid. He would believe that he could overturn, you know, a country as vast and as big as Ukraine, as Russia, with 25,000 men. Even most of them didn't know what they were doing, and what were they going to do when they got to Moscow? Oh, hold on a minute! I thought we were here to save Putin, not to get rid of him. I mean, it beggars belief.
Let's ask, what were you going to do when you got to Moscow? Find Putin and kill him. Do you actually believe that he would be in the Kremlin? No. I don't know. It doesn't make sense, does it? It just doesn't make sense.
No.
This needs to be probed a bit further.
Right.
I'm like, how can someone, I don't know, mind control standing out to me, right? The words mind control.
So he's been got at. That would only be why. I mean, Putin didn't do it. Russia didn't do it to make him attack them. It would have to be the Western people, either US, English, or something. I don't know. I mean, it has to be that kind of. Why would he do that?
I don't know. I don't know. And you know, there's all sorts of ways to do mind control. I don't know. It doesn't make. There's something we're missing. We'll have to look deeper into this. There's something we're missing. I can't find it, because when I look at him, he just seems like an ordinary guy. He doesn't seem like.
Well, he's a Russian oligarch, isn't he? I mean, he's made his money. He's done this. A lot of Russian oligarchs. Maybe they've been trying to get rid of Putin, obviously, for a while. They want to control Russia. They want another Yeltsin in there so they can basically split up Russia and take all the resources and everything. I mean, that's what they want to do. Russia has moved on since the 90s, but the West doesn't think it has. So, and Russia.
But he's not interested in the money. He does.
No, I know.
He's not motivated by that. I'm getting that very strong.
What? Because he went back on one deal. He wants to get. That doesn't make sense.
I also feel like he was promised a place in the government.
Well, now that's different. I thought before that he had political leanings.
He wants to control something. So I feel like he was promised a place in the government. Putin's now saying, thank God, dodged a bullet. But Putin was always very suspicious of him.
Right.
He was always watched and followed. They always knew that the Wagner was a possibility of staging a coup. That's always been known.
Well, I think, yes, it has been known for a while, because the US government knew about it, because the Congress of 8, which is the Congress within the Congress, there is a law in America that if they have any intel or something, about a third party, I can't remember what it exactly is, but there's 8 members of Congress. I don't know why it's only 8 and not the whole Congress, and certainly not the American people, but they have to be told about it. So apparently they say they've known about this is going to be happening for the last 2 weeks, which probably means 2 months. So this didn't get planned on the last minute. This has been planned for a while, and maybe he was made promises by the West. I'm not sure how they thought they were going to intervene. I mean, they can't.
Well, let's ask him. Were you made promises by the West? Yes, he was.
Right.
What sort of promises were you made? That he was going to be able to go live in the West, claim asylum, political asylum.
Right.
In the West. Is that happening? No, that's not happening, because it was a failed coup. They basically abandoned him now.
Well, they weren't very good bedfellows in the first place, by the sounds of it, and this must be a warning for anybody else thinking of doing the same. I mean, all these people are patsies at the end of the day. They're always being used. Yeah,
absolutely. How many times have we been doing these probes? We got a lot of new people on the channel, Mr. Shakespeare, because of that submersible. We attracted a lot of attention. And if anybody, they still believe it's an implosion, but nothing from the chamber has been found. But it's an implosion because the media said so. Okay. That's a cover up too. Anyway, anything else from you? I'm glad you're here, Mr. Shakespeare. Please understand that it is summertime. A lot of people are traveling. Mr. Robot's traveling. Mr. Shakespeare, you've been traveling. Then you had other things going on. So, wintertime, I know we're cranking out a lot of content. But right now it's sort of hit and miss when everybody's available because we're all traveling. We're all making good of the good weather but yeah, we're gonna get back on track. Don't worry. This was a good one.